Welcome to Kings of Kimuras, your one-stop podcast for everything from mats to the stars. Join us as we dive into the heart of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, explore the thrills of MMA, and groove to the beats of music. But that's not all. We're also venturing into the unknown, discussing aliens and the mysteries of the cosmos. And of course, we'll be shooting the breeze, sharing stories, and laughs along the way. Get ready for a wild ride from a universe of topics. Strap in and prepare to explore the world of BJJ, MMA, music, aliens, and more. Let's roll.
Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Kings of Kimura podcast. As you can notice, we're not in our normal studio, which is the gym in Richardson. We're in our gym in downtown Plano, and I figured it'd be a good time to kind of show you guys the progress. As you can see behind us, we're just waiting on some stuff to be cleaned out, and then we can start the build out for the mats. Probably by the time that we've posted this video, we'll already be in the process of building those mats or have them done. So, sorry for the delay, but it's really not anything that we've done. It's just we're waiting on the city and construction. And if you've ever built anything, you kind of know how difficult it can be to navigate that process.
For sure. Well, this looks awesome, man. I was in the back over there. It's a huge shower, bathrooms. So if y'all are in the area or if you're coming into town, coming to train, this is the best spot to come and train at. I know it probably doesn't look it right now, but once we get these mats in here, it's go time. We got lots of foot traffic outside too. And that's one thing that we were talking about before we started was just the amount of people who are walking by and kind of looking in or looking at the sign. So, and that's something at the Richardson location we don't get a whole lot of.
Yeah. And a lot of people don't know, but this whole thing, this process of this gym started in May of 2023. I was approached by the people that own this property to move our gym. They did a lot of market research, and they saw how well our gym was doing on online, social media, and then, obviously reading the reviews. And they offered me the entire space, which was a little over 10,000 square feet. But due to having a lease with another property, it was kind of impossible for me to make the move entirely, or I would have, because it was just a really good deal. And I mean, you see, like you said, the amount of foot traffic that's here, it would have blown up for sure. And I kind of sat on it a little bit, and, I started thinking of had a conversation with Kyle Terra where he talked about, gyms overlapping, and that being a main reason that people end up quitting is either one, lack of funds, or it's too far from where they live or work. And so my idea was to kind of follow his concept and, just have overlapping gyms. So this is where we're at.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And I already know some people at the Richardson gym have said this location's a lot closer. One of our members said it's literally within walking distance for him. It's a 5-minute walk from where he lives. So already having the pre-existing members, having it more convenient for them is a huge bonus as well.
Yeah.
For sure.
I think a big mistake that I've made before, I can't really speak for other people, but I had a second gym one time, and obviously it wasn't the best location, but it was too far apart from each other, so they couldn't really play off of each other. And then me as an instructor of driving back and forth between them, it just put too much on me. And they need to be, close enough where I can bounce over to them, or you can go to them. We're not driving 30 minutes between, if you drive from that gym to here, I think it's 15 minutes or less, really,
Yeah, I think it's less than it was 13.
Yeah, I went all inside roads from my house, and it was 14 minutes from my house, and it's I think it's 17 to Richardson from my house, so it's still about the same. I think if you can get it under 20 minutes, that's what people are looking for.
Yeah, absolutely. Because, like, say, I know sometimes I'd be locking my keys in the gym by accident. And so it's nice to, like, have you guys close so you can kind of bail me out.
Sure, yeah.
Because I know some of the other instructors live, like, a little bit further. But even still, it's not like I know some instructors at other gyms, they told me, like, yeah, I drive 2 hours to get here. Like, 2 hours, dude? You must be here, like, all day then, because being that far from home, it's not like you can just go back and like go home and chill out and then come back. Like, you got to be within the area at all times, like through the day. So
yeah, I think about some of the guys in California that have those crazy commutes. You know, maybe it's not just a distance, but it's like a time thing because the amount of people that are there. And you know, you're there for like 8-9 hours a day at the gym, maybe more if you own it. You know, you might be spending like 12-16 hours there where you're not even going home. You know,
right.
and we're kind of lucky in the sense of, you know, yes, our, you know, gyms are convenient to where we live, but we also like get to travel back and forth between, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I just hope we don't get any weird guys like we got at the Richardson spot.
Yeah, I think that just kind of like martial arts in general draws those type of people, you know. I would imagine that there's a lot of types of businesses. You know, you think of like a bar or something too, you know, it draws a certain type of people. You want to talk about that experience?
Oh, yeah, for sure. So at the Richardson location, we had this guy come in one time. He was about, what would say, like 215, 220?
Yeah,
about big
maybe even
dude.
more, maybe 230, you know. He was like kind of like heavy set, you know.
Yeah, he was a heavier guy. And he went up to this should have been the first red flag for this guy, because when he was filling out the waiver and whatnot, he told Susan, hey, there's some rumors going on about me. I just want you to know they're not true, or something like that. And that's already, leading off pretty odd.
Yeah.
And then, we have a policy at the gym, which I think every gym, especially if you're doing jiu-jitsu, should have, which is no bare feet in the bathroom. That's like number one rule. We don't want cross-contamination, no bare feet in the bathroom. And guy walked in bare feet and then walks straight onto the mat. And so I go, hey, man, you got to put on shoes. Walks right past me like I'm a ghost, like I don't even exist. And so I try to get his attention again, and this time I kind of snap at him, right? And I go, hey, man, you have to wear shoes when you're in the bathroom. We don't want to cross-contaminate. And then he just blows up on me like, hey, do you snap at all your students like this who come in and train, blah, blah, blah? Like, I'm like, dude, if they don't wear shoes in the bathroom, yeah, I do. Like, you just walked right past me. And then he just goes ballistic. Fuck you, fuck this gym, blah, 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 blah. And then he just kind of storms off the mat, and I'm just there like, man, what is going on? And then I started rolling with somebody after that. I just kind of didn't think anything of it. But then I kind of heard you, David, Roy, you guys are all like going back and forth with this guy, like, hey, man, you need to leave, and this, that, and the other. I don't know what he said to y'all exactly, but
it was like
along the same lines what he told me.
I kind of saw what was happening, and I decided instead of letting this guy train and like maybe something worse happen than just words, I was like, we got to get this guy out of here. And when I told him he needed to leave, he kind of like, when we started moving like as a triangle around this guy, he was kind of like not talking as much, but he was like trying to head towards the front door, and I blocked him and like made him go out that little side door that we have.
Yeah.
And whenever he, like right before he went outside, Roy was kind of like looking over his shoulder, and he was thinking like, this guy's going to throw a punch. And I know like maybe people were waiting to see what am I going to do, and and we had just had a belt promotion. There was like families and kids there, and hitting the guy would have been the wrong thing for sure. Yeah. Like he said some pretty heinous stuff, but at the same time, I was like, I can't let this escalate. So when we got him outside, that's when he really started talking. Now he's like closer to his car than he is to the door. So he started getting real crazy. And so I'd gotten his license plate, and I asked one of the police officers to run it, and they said they couldn't because of there's like laws against that, right?
Yeah.
So we'd fortunately got the guy to fill out the waiver, and he put some fake name but he put a real email address. So I took that email address and I searched online, and he had a Facebook and he had a YouTube page. And the Facebook was pretty crazy because there would be times where he was posting maybe like, every 15 seconds or so, but it was posting like the same stuff. And it was all about like human trafficking, not like stopping human trafficking. It was like Dallas police traffic human kids, fire department traffics. And then you could see like every time he had gone into a martial arts school, because right afterwards he would post something about like this martial arts gym traffics humans, for the Dallas police department. Like, it was just very like crazy, like schizophrenic type stuff. Yeah. And I was glad to have that guy out. And I feel like maybe like, let's say things escalated, the guy may come back and do something, like that's the type of guy that burns your gym down.
Yeah, for real. Like if you really mess him up bad and, with somebody who's unstable like that, if you really like mess them up, you can almost guarantee that they're going to come back with something, or they're just going to completely disappear. Either one. Well, that's a risk that you can definitely mitigate by just kind of guiding him out of the building.
Yeah. I mean, the guy was definitely like off his medication, so fortunately like nothing happened, but those guys pop in all the time, man. I mean, we've had some like strange dudes, you get like these challenge matches sometimes. We haven't had too many of those as of late, but it seems like in the earlier days, maybe when we weren't as like, well known or like, had a social media presence, or like you're a new gym, people are going to come in and try to test you out. And it's not like the good guys. It's like the psychos.
Yeah. It's the guys who let their ego dictate all of their decision making, I feel like the more professional your gym looks, it's not that the old Corvo didn't look professional, but that compared to this is like way different, and I feel like when people see that as well, they see like a small gym, there's like a few members, there's a couple of upper belts, like they feel like inside like, oh, well, these guys aren't that tough, they're not that professional, they're not gonna beat me up that bad. And even guys who think like, okay, well, I'm going to get beat up, but I think I'll be able to submit at least one of them. Sure. And then they're in for a rude awakening when they just literally can't do anything to like a 3-month white belt. Like a 3-month white belt is just absolutely taking their lunch money. And that's definitely a big shot to their ego for sure.
Who was that? Was it Chris Wojcik that posted not too long ago that jiu-jitsu like attracts some of like the worst people? Those weren't the exact words, but it was something about like
something like psycho. Like jiu-jitsu has the most like psychotic people per capita.
I mean, there's definitely like a lot of, I think maybe we see that more because it's the industry that we're in. I think if we were like in the tech industry or, you name it, whatever, like we're going to, this is the worst people in the world just because you're around those people. But there definitely are a lot of like, users and not so great people in martial arts. They take that like position of power, and they use it to their own benefit.
Yeah, absolutely, man. You see like Reddit horror stories, and the worst part I think is when women get on there and they describe their experience, because like women already are pretty vulnerable when they come into a martial arts gym. For the most part, it's a lot of males in the gym, and so it's already kind of an intimidating environment already. Yeah. And then when the instructors or like some of even the students like try to take advantage of that, man, that is just like, if I were to see that, if I had a gym and I were seeing that from one of my instructors, that guy's gone within seconds. Like, hey, man, you have to leave and you're not welcome back.
That's a rule that we have, it's like no dating the students, like it just should be an unspoken rule, but it's one of those that like, you have to discuss with people. I mean, there's enough people in the world. If you want to date somebody in the community, date somebody from a different gym.
Yeah. And even that can get dicey, because sometimes you're into somebody from another gym, but some of the other like higher belts don't really like you, or like have some beef with the gym that you're at. And it just gets very odd very fast, It's just better to avoid that altogether. I started dating a rower, so I didn't date within jiu-jitsu.
I knew a guy that he never let his wife train at the same gym that he was at. He was a purple belt when he got married, and his wife wanted to start training. He's like, you can train, but you're not going to train here. Like, we'll go find you a gym and we'll, like, you know, talk to the instructors. We'll see how the atmosphere is and we'll find a gym. But I just don't want to get in a situation where, like, you know, we're together and we're training and then, you know, this is like our time to be separated from each other. And I guess that works for some people, you know, but there's a lot of married couples that train together. You know, I think where the hardest part comes is if you're a married couple that is competitive. Yeah. And then, like, one of the two is the coach of the other, you know? Yeah. So I would definitely advise against that.
Yeah, that is I feel like a recipe for some dysfunction. If not right away, definitely later on down the line.
Sure.
You know, because those lines get blurred. Mm-hmm. You know, it's like for a couple of hours you're my coach, and then when we go home, now you're my husband. Like, it's a very odd dynamic, and it's almost like coaching your own kids. You know, like, I don't have any kids personally, but I would want them. I wouldn't want to be their head coach and their dad. Yeah. You know, I would want somebody else to coach them. And I think that's one thing AOJ has done really well with. You know, like Guillermo and Hoffa, they both have children, but they're not their coaches. You know, Tynan is, or Kolabate. You know, those are their coaches. They're kind of, obviously they know what they're doing and they want to see their kids succeed, but they let their guys do their thing, which is awesome. You know, I see so many parents, especially parents of young kids, kind of overstep their boundary, you know, and I'm sure you've experienced that as well.
You just kind of, as a parent, I think the best advice I could give is you have to be supportive, you know, be willing to do everything that you can in your power to help your kid get better, except for, you know, being the coach, right? Or like, you know, if you're at home, like, and you didn't like their performance today, don't punish them and make them do something kind of crazy, you know, like a workout routine or whatever it is. Just let them be a kid, you know, like, that's the biggest thing that I see as a coach is just be supportive of your kid. You know, sure, you want them to do good, but, like, when you start punishing them for not doing good, you're setting, like, the wrong example, I feel like.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's one thing my dad was really good about when I was young. He basically told me, like, yeah, you know, I could see that you weren't really in it today, but tomorrow's a new day. You know, like, the sun's going to come up tomorrow and you'll have a chance to do better than you did today.
Sure.
So, like, just focus on that. Don't focus on what happened in the past, even though it was like 30 minutes ago. It's still in the past. You can't change that. You just have to keep pushing forward. And like you said, he didn't punish me for doing bad. You know, if I didn't take a kid down at practice, he wasn't like, well, we're going to go home and you're going to do push-ups and you're going to do squats and, like, this, that, and the other thing. Yeah. You know, he was like, if you want to do that stuff, you can. You know, there's plenty of people out there that are working super hard, but he wasn't going to be the one to tell me what to do. You know, he would give suggestions like, hey, you know, especially I did a wrestling camp before my sophomore year in high school. It was a really, really hard wrestling camp. It was 2 weeks. It's called J-Rob Intensive Camps, and they're like the hardest wrestling camps in the country. And I wasn't ready at all. And my dad would tell me every day, hey, you got to get up and run, get up and run, get up and run, because a lot of it was running. Like at the end of the camp, you ran a half marathon pretty much. And so he was like, you got to be ready to run. And I was like, yeah, whatever. And then that's the first thing I thought of on those runs was like, man, my dad was right. I should have been doing way more running. So, you know, being a little bit more of a stubborn kid, the way that my dad handled it was pretty commendable, because I was pretty hard-headed when I was young. Didn't want to listen, but
I think that's most kids, though. You know, like speaking from that place of like somebody that has kids. You know, when I was a kid and my dad would tell me something, you know, it was almost like, man, what do you know? Like, you're an old dude. What do you? What do you? Like, you don't know nothing about this, and then you have kids. And now you're the old dude, and you're telling your kid, hey, man, you know, don't do this or that because of this. And they kind of look at you like stupid, you know?
Yeah, so, you're like, what do you know? Yeah, dang, it all comes full circle.
I don't know if you ever got this, but my parents used to say this all the time. And, like, you'll understand when you have kids of your own, you know?
Yeah, and my dad says that a lot.
And I think what you understand is that, like you have this flashback of like, okay, yeah, now I am the idiot, like the kid is the real moron, but like they see you as that, and there's no way to make a kid understand that you actually know what you're talking about.
They gotta just experience it.
Yeah.
And then honestly, that when I would experience something that my dad would tell me about, that's the first thing that would pop in my mind was, man, my dad said that this exact thing would happen, and it ended up playing out just like he said.
Yeah, probably because he made those same mistakes, or like seeing somebody make that mistake, and like they're trying to teach you from their experience, but most of the time we're too stubborn to see that.
Just ignorant too, you know. When you're young, you're pretty ignorant, especially. I mean, I got into grappling at a pretty young age, so I was pretty naive and ignorant to the outside world, like outside of combat sport, So then when I went off to college and I started experiencing life pretty much for the first time without my parents, I was very much like, oh, wow, this is a very eye-opening experience.
Yeah. Yeah, it's being a kid and being a parent is like not easy. There's not one that's easier than the other for sure.
Right, yeah, both are difficult in their own ways. Most definitely.
So the Pans are going on this weekend. I guess they're like almost wrapped up at this point, right? They're like playing the finals right now. Mm-hmm. I think one of the like biggest surprises I saw Andy Murasaki in the absolute. Like he was having some really solid battles.
Yeah, he came to scrap for sure.
Yeah.
Just a dogfight, and like I respect those gi competitors a lot who go out there and have that kind of style. That's why people love Leandro Lo.
Yeah,
because no matter what he was wearing, he was the same competitor. He's gonna come out and do the same thing. He's gonna get in your face. He's gonna make his grips. He's gonna play his game, and then honestly, where the most excitement happens is the last like 2 minutes. The last 2 minutes of any Leandro match is gonna be filled with action, but Andy's just been scrapping the whole time, so I respect that.
Well, there's like a few guys out there that actually have that kind of style, right? That they're looking to finish or like win dominantly, but there's not a lot, and maybe there's like a rebirth of those guys. Things kind of go in cycles, right?
Yeah.
And you look at like in the era that I kind of came up in, there were a lot of guys that were finishers, or at least trying to finish, and then there was like a lull in the gi sport where a lot of guys are playing more lapel. Playing more 50-50, it's like more a sweep advantage battle.
Yeah.
And now you're seeing these guys that are like, trying to attack more, like Mika Galval, right? That's a prime example of like, if I think of somebody that's a finisher, I think of him.
Most definitely.
He's always on the attack. Maybe he doesn't always get the finish, but he's one of those guys always looking for it.
Yeah, when he's the one initiating, he's the best in the world, like he's so good, and he's fast with those arm bars. He catches them from everywhere, and I know Fabricio Andre just hit a really clean arm bar, like flying arm bar at the Sao Paulo trials.
Yeah.
And that's definitely something that Mika influenced in his game.
Sure.
Because for a while when I was a blue belt, I kind of was playing that same game, like play for points, get the sub if you can get it, but like more play for points and position. And then I started training with more people who said, well, points are irrelevant. I'm just going to try to submit you. And that kind of opened my eyes to, okay, I need to get my submission game like more dangerous, because, it's almost like in wrestling, there's obviously no submissions. So oftentimes you see like very close matches. Yeah. But man, even if you're getting blown out the water in jiu-jitsu, you're losing 20-0, you can still come back and submit this guy. Yeah. If you got the grit and you can find it, you can submit them. And that's one thing that I felt like my game was missing. Like if I started getting down on points, I was like, oh, there's no way I'm going to win this match. But it's like, no, dude, there's always a time to win this. There's 10 seconds left, 5 seconds left. You can make something happen for sure. You can jump to the back, like you can try and initiate a scramble, like you can do something.
Well, and like how many times does a match end like that too, where, there's like a crazy scramble and then all of a sudden, one guy's behind the other one, maybe they don't, in fact, like we talk about your last fight to win match, right? You didn't get the sub, but like you dominated the guy. And then the very like last 20 seconds of the match, you ended up on the guy's back.
Right.
And I think that kind of happens because if you can turn up the pace inside that last minute, and break that other guy, you have a good chance of getting to the back because people just don't defend that. You know, they're kind of like gassed and are like trust in their defense of submission defense from the back as opposed to defending the back altogether.
Yeah, you know? Absolutely. And that's something too that I really wanted to work in that match was just keep my positions going. Doesn't matter how much time's on the clock. Don't even look. Just keep flowing through your positions and keep finding your avenues to a more dominant position. And he tried to invert for kind of like a leg entanglement, and I ended up just taking his back off of that. I just flowed right into it. You know, had there been another minute or so in the match, I probably would have gotten the finish there. But I'm like more focused on the ADCC rule set where, you know, I'm not trying to score obviously in the first half of the match, and then the second half is when I can really like turn up the pace, you know.
Let's take a quick break right there, and then we'll come back and we'll discuss like the rest of the fighters on that Fight to Win card. Hey guys, thanks for tuning into our episode. We're about the halfway point right now. What I wanted to tell you guys is that we will be opening our Plano gym soon. I know you're probably tired of hearing me say this. It's pushed back another week here and there, but I think we finally will be open mid-April. If you look in this episode, you can see in the background that what we're working on is just going to be the mats. We're waiting on to get our certificate of occupancy, and then once we have that, we can start to offer jiu-jitsu to the downtown area of Plano. If you're interested, make sure you guys reach out to us. We're also going to put a link below in our YouTube that will have a Google Sheet where you can fill your information out, and we will send an email out to you to let you know when you could come train with us. Thanks, guys. All right, guys, we're back from our little break. I hope you enjoyed that commercial. We were talking about the Fight to Win event that we went to. We had 4 competitors, 5 matches. Lindsay took 2. Let's just kind of like start from the bottom, I guess, you know, like Lindsay had the first match. She fought another girl that was a blue belt from a local school. I think she's an avid competitor. I don't really know her that well, but did really well, you know, showed a lot of like her ability, and she kind of controlled the match really, and, you know, ended up getting the sub at the end. So
yeah, when Lindsay's dialed in, she's extremely good. And even Seth, well, I guess that was after her second match, but her first match, she got a pretty brutal Kimura. Pretty brutal. Mm-hmm. I would not want to be on the receiving end of that because Lindsay has been, I mean, she's exercised like her whole life. You know, she's pretty strong, like pound for pound. So her ripping on your arm, man, that's going to hurt anybody. Mm-hmm. But like after her second match, she got an arm bar. Seth was like, Tony, give this girl her purple belt already.
Yeah.
You know?
Roy got a crazy video. I just haven't like posted it or screenshot it yet, but where he was filming at, he caught the arm bar, but like as the girl's arms extended, her leg is like in between the referee's leg, and it's coming towards Roy's face. So it's like he's looking at that happening, and it's pretty wild.
Yeah,
it was pretty cool.
Awesome.
Pretty cool photo. After that, we had who was up next? Was it
Maria Haynes, the Swedish Nightmare, man. She's like, when she came into the gym for the first time, I rolled with her. I was like, you know, she's what, 135, 140.
Yeah.
You know, so I'm like, okay, I'm gonna get in there, kind of work with her a little bit. You know, not give her the full, you know, 185-pound pressure that I have. And she came out swinging. Yeah. I was like, whoa, this is... And then she tried her, like, signature move is that arm spin. Mm-hmm. She showed that at the seminar, and she tried that on me, and my head was, like, this close to hitting the ground. So I was like, oh, time to bail out and roll. So I, like, rolled, and then it, like, got into a scramble. And right after that, I was like, okay, this is going to be... It's one of those kinds of rolls where she's going to, like, just give it everything she has. And
yeah, I think that is the exact description of what it is to roll with her. You know, for me, she didn't try the arm spin, but she jumped guillotines on me, you know, and that's like pretty common. If she can get over your head, she's going to jump that guillotine.
Yeah,
you know, it's one of her best moves. I see her tap a lot of guys like that. I mean, not just women, but guys. And I see sometimes these guys that are like, oh, it's a woman, you know, I'm going to roll with this woman. And then before you know it, you know, she's like putting the hurt on you.
Yeah, she's on a guillotine, and it's deep. You're like, whoa, this is a good squeeze.
Yeah. I saw her knee bar this guy, a purple belt that we used to have. It was like 240 pounds or something. And it came on so fast that it like, you know, he had to tap. He had no choice. But then you see like, I can't believe this, you know, woman just tapped me. You see it like in his eyes.
Right.
And then he turned the fire up and he's like, oh, wait a minute. Like I still like, you know, I should be trading technique for technique, but
I'm still 240 pounds. It's just when you're not expecting it or you're not like respecting that game, she's going to get you. And yeah, she's really sneaky with that knee bar too. Mm-hmm. What she tapped that girl with, that slot machine arm bar, right?
Yeah, she went off the stage.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
You know, that's something that I guess primarily from like doing so many ADCCs, you know, we discussed that like, hey, if you have something, you have a position, you have a sub, and you go off the mat, don't let go of it. Keep going until somebody stops you. And then when they go to reset you, let them reset you back in that position. You know, you don't want to give up all that effort and then like end up back on the feet, you know?
Absolutely. Yeah. Her head was like going underneath the stage at one point. She had like a rear triangle on the girl. Mm-hmm. The girl was turtled up and she had the triangle. And kudos to the ref for like not having them fall off the mat there.
Yeah.
Because he like pulled them back to the center and then she went for that slot machine. But then what was funny was after that, the ref like went on the wrong side to see the girl tapping. So the girl's like tapping. Yeah. And we're like, ref, she's tapping. Like, oh my goodness. And because especially with Maria, she's not going to let go unless the referee's like, stop.
Yeah.
Stop.
I mean, that's the right way to approach it. Obviously, you know, you're not trying to go, like, if you feel them tapping, you're not trying to, like, apply more pressure, but you are maintaining the pressure in order to make sure the ref stops the match at the right time.
Yeah, absolutely. You don't want any Brazilian tapping. We don't respect the one tap. It's got to be a couple, like, or it's got to be like a tap. Like, you got to scream it out.
Yeah. And then, so next, Lindsay had her second match, right? And that's the one that she got with the arm bar. That was pretty impressive, too. It was, like, pretty clear that the girl didn't want to engage in the stand-up. Yeah. And I feel like the work that we've done over, like, the last, like 2.5, maybe more than that, right? Like
maybe like 4 months, yeah. Because I know at some of my classes before J-Flow came, we were working some similar stuff, like working the Sasai from the underhook and techniques like that. So everybody had kind of had a good idea of what was, or at least the people who came to my classes kind of had a good general idea, but he dissected it like perfectly, you know, and like you were saying, we've definitely seen it pay off in the matches that we've had recently. Like our stand-up games definitely evolved a lot because of him.
I mean, it's something that we've worked, I guess, longer than a couple months, you know. Like I did watch, like, obviously you have some wrestling background, but I watched some of that feet to floor, and we try to implement some of that stuff. And, you know, I think it's just good, like, where a lot of schools will only do, like, hip escapes and stuff to warm up. We're now doing hand fighting drills or wrestling drills, and you know, both guys are getting a response out of that, because we tell people, you know, just because somebody is drilling the move on you doesn't mean that you can't respond in a correct way, right? And I think that's part of what I'm trying to instill in that, like, inside position drill where we're not really using a lot of effort, you know, of like, yes, one guy's doing something, but the other guy can be working as well.
Yeah, absolutely. You got to be working your defensive reactions and giving realistic reactions. You know, if you don't know, I mean, somebody digs an underhook, you know, how many times do we see people who are inexperienced with the stand-up, somebody digs the underhook on them and they kind of drape their arm over the neck. Yeah. You know, it's like you're just asking to get your back taken. Yeah. So when we kind of slow it down and explain, like, hey, this is kind of the defensive reaction you're also looking for. Like, don't fight this guy super hard because we want the guy with the underhook to be working, but this is the defensive reaction that you should be having here. Sure. And breaking it down like that has really... Like, whereas people were kind of hesitant to stand up with me maybe a few months ago, a lot more people are standing for longer periods of time and actually trying to return back to their feet to do more wrestling, which is awesome to see, you know?
Yeah, I think if you break it down into understanding of, you know, if we're passing the guard, right, you want to pass with the underhook most of the time, right? There are passes with overhooks instead of underhooks. But when you're standing, you want to work on that underhook game a lot. You know, it's very similar, like controlling the inside position. You know, like if we think about it as, you know, being on the ground. I mean, if you took somebody with an under-over position and you put them on the ground in like a side control, it's going to be very similar, you know, same type of positional controls.
Yeah.
And it's just getting people comfortable in those type of positions more often, you know.
Yeah, for sure. And I can definitely see our students are absolutely not afraid to stand in that pocket anymore. You know, some of them are a little more hesitant. I think it's the more like the stiffer guys in the room, you know, the people who don't really like move as well.
Yeah.
But the people who kind of move well or move well to like a certain degree, they're definitely picking up what we're putting down. So it's awesome to see. And shout out to J-Flow for sure. And thank you for coming by and showing those techniques, because they've definitely leveled up our game a lot. For sure.
Yeah, I'm going to go out and do that instructor training with him in May. It's like a 4-day event, you know, like not only are you like learning techniques, but you're learning how to be a better instructor. And, you know, I'm looking forward to bringing that stuff back.
Yeah, absolutely. Like anytime you get a chance to do something like that, I feel like you got to definitely take it. You know, if I had the financial means to,
sure,
I would come too. But someone's got to hold down the fort, you know?
Sure. I feel like but a lot of instructors today, you know, are doing that more, you know, learning how to be better instructors, but it's not every one of them, right? It's like the guys that understand that, you know, you don't stop learning at black belt that will do that type of stuff. You know, they'll do summits or they'll do classes with other instructors, you know?
Yeah.
But I feel like if you have an instructor that's not doing stuff like that or watching videos, you know, there's probably another, I don't want to say like a reason, but there's got to be like, I mean, maybe he's closed-minded or something, you know?
Yeah, a lot of it, like, I hear from instructors is safety. I don't want my guys getting hurt. Well, your guys aren't going to get hurt if they learn how to fall correctly.
Yeah.
Like, we act like the break fall. Like, the break fall is literally teaching people how to not get hurt when something bad happens to them. You don't want to get thrown, but, hey, if you do get thrown like this or you do end up taking a fall, this is how you're going to take it, you know? Yeah. And so I don't really understand that from a safety standpoint. The more you know, and the more that we practice these quote unquote dangerous positions. Same thing with like heel hooks. You know, these positions that are seen as more dangerous, quote unquote, I think are just drilled incorrectly and kind of given this like false label that, oh, this move is just, it's so dangerous, you should never try it. Maybe with like a Kani Basami or something like that. But
sure.
I mean, how many clean Kani Basamis have you seen that haven't resulted in a knee break? You've seen definitely a lot that have resulted in knee breaks, but like Gary Tonin did a fantastic one at the 2019 ADCC that was really clean and to my knowledge didn't cause any like serious injury. It was just a very tight position. But
yeah. You know, I did a rules seminar this week for IBJJF to like update my black belt and the gym status. And I'm sitting there listening to this guy who's leading it. You know, he's like a head referee for IBJJF. So like his opinions are not only his, but they're also IBJJF's.
Right.
And he's having this discussion about, you know, the founding rules or reasons for IBJJF. And it was like, you know, one of them was like safety of the student. And he starts discussing leg locks. And he's like, if you have a student that is only learning leg locks as a beginner and he's injuring people in your gym, then you may feel like you have to move him to the advanced, but because he doesn't have a fundamental background, he gets beaten by more advanced people and never progresses past learning leg locks. And
that's silly.
Yeah, and he was talking about how like dangerous leg locks were, and my thought was, what instructor needs a student that bad that they will allow them to do leg locks and injure people in the gym? I think you injure one person in the gym, we have a discussion.
Yep.
The second time that it happens, if it's in the exact same way, you're out of here. You know, like there's absolutely no one person that's worth that as a business owner. But secondly, you know, it's like you're talking about, right? I mean, if we're allowing people to do Kimuras and arm bars and we're not allowing them to do leg locks because they're too dangerous. Like, they're all attacking the joint, you know. It's more about the person understanding, one, how to apply it correctly and when to let go, but two, if you're on the receiving end, how to defend and when to tap.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, it goes back to that, you know, when you're drilling with somebody, it's a give and take. Like, not one person's just getting all the repetitions in. You know, you might be, let's say the more emphasis is on heel hook attacks, but also when you get put there, you can recognize, okay, if I'm here, I need to be getting my other foot involved. I need to be hand fighting. I need to be defensively responsible here. Yeah. And schools that discourage that or like don't do that, I don't understand. It's almost like, are you trying to say like your students are like so incompetent that they can't like handle leg locks, or are you really that afraid of somebody hurting another person? If so, then you need to have a discussion with them about that. Yeah. Like, that's not a leg lock thing. This person is in the gym trying to hurt people with submissions. Mm-hmm. Like, that's a huge issue. You know? If they got a Kimura, they would probably do the same thing, or an arm bar, or like, you know, I know some big guys like the Americana from like side control. You know, if a big guy like that rips on that Americana, there goes your rotator cuff, your labrum. So, yeah, it's not an issue of the techniques. It's the people who are applying them. Like, if the guy's in there trying to injure people, then that guy's got to go. You know, he's not welcome.
If there's a head coach too that's saying, you know, these techniques are too dangerous, is it mainly because they haven't learned how to do the move and how to defend against the move? You know, that's what I would say, right? I mean, sure, there are moves that are too dangerous. You know, like, we're not out here drilling, you know, eye gouges and fish hooks but you know,
suplexes.
Yeah, I mean, there's things that, like, we have moves that are outlawed. You know, and one is like any hips into the side of the knee from a standing position, or, you know, like a flying scissor takedown. Those are moves that are, you know, really don't have an application in training.
Yeah,
you know,
absolutely. It's just reckless. It's like body weight going into a joint at an awkward angle. Mm-hmm. And anything like that, especially like when you're both standing, the risk for injury is extremely high, and the reward isn't really that. Like, you Kani Basami somebody, you might enter into a deep leg entanglement, but then they could counter your leg entanglement and then potentially take your back. So it's not exactly super rewarding, even if you do end up doing one of these moves like a Kani Basami, or like hipping into the side of somebody's knee. You know, like, yeah, sure, you might take them down, but what if they just scramble right back up and you just lose a position altogether? You know? Yeah,
it doesn't. Like you said, there's some moves. It's like they're just for competition. If you want to go and flying scissor people in tournaments where it's legal, like, that's where you get your reps. You know, like, there are some ways to do it, you know, safe, where you're posting on the mat. But if you're doing it in a tournament, you're not posting on the mat because they're seeing the setup. You know?
Right. You're sending it. You're definitely going to be sending it.
Yeah. Well, I know we got a little off topic, so let's go back to the fight to win. Let's talk about. It's all right. We'll talk about Tahila, or what did they call her? Tahila or something. Talila. That's what it was. She did really good. You know, this is like her second tournament as a brown belt. Her first one, she did okay, but I think she just was like overwhelmed, didn't get a good warm up, you know. But this one was against a really tough Brazilian. I think probably went through every kid's belts, you know, even if she didn't, we're going to say she did for this.
Yeah.
And then Tahila got her brown belt a few weeks ago, right? Like a month or something.
Yeah. Very, very recently.
Yeah. And she went out there and just completely, like, she told us, I want to play top game. And we were like, we think you should play on the bottom, you know, like, encourage her to do this. And then she went out there and played top, and she did really well. I mean, even on the bottom, when she got reversed at the end, she did well. Yeah. But just complete domination. I mean,
absolutely. Yeah. She controlled the whole tempo of the match. I was really impressed with that. And she told us after, like, yeah, that's my game when I go against other girls, is like use my top game and pressure. Mm-hmm. But, you know, she rolls with mainly guys in the gym, and I see her like submit guys like 2 or 3 times in a row, you know, all with different stuff. Armbar, sometimes the leg lock, sometimes she gets to the back. She's really sneaky about getting to the back too. So she's definitely extremely slept on. And if she really turns it up. And because the problem with Naga was she was just kind of getting gassed, and like maybe the physical conditioning aspect wasn't there, but she definitely has the technique. And if she makes the adjustments on the physical side with conditioning and strength training and all that, I think she could definitely do extremely well against a lot of girls. And she had a match with Helena right at ADCC where she got put in a pretty bad armbar. But I mean, if we saw the Tehila go up against Helena that we saw at Fight to Win, I think she could definitely give her a run for her money.
Yeah, I agree with you. You know, the biggest thing is the conditioning, you know, and like as a young person that like has to have a job and, you know, like jiu-jitsu is her hobby, it's very difficult to like, you know, one, afford all of that, right? And then two, find the time to be able to do it all.
Absolutely.
And that's like the unfortunate part about our sport is that professional like doesn't even really make any money, you know, like there are some guys that make money, but like most of the time you hear guys, they get a sponsorship and it's like they're not making any money, you know, like if you're not profiting something from your sponsorship, you know, more than just free clothing, because like let's be honest, like most of that stuff is marked up like 3 or 4 times. Yeah, at least 50%.
Yeah, definitely.
You know, it's not like a true professional sponsorship, you know, and very few people get those. Even as somebody that competed and had a sponsorship, like I only got paid reimbursements for my tournament entry fee if I placed, you know, and then like every year they would send me like a coupon code for, you know, $1,000 or something to like buy gear with for the entire year. You know? And, I mean, that's a lot of money for sure. But still, it's like if somebody's just like giving you a t-shirt or a rash guard or a hoodie and they're like, hey, you want to be part of my sponsor team? Like, you know, real brands, they don't just like hand that stuff out to everybody.
Yeah,
you know,
this is very true.
Like, look how many major jiu-jitsu brands are, and they don't have like 40 athletes, you know, they got 4 or 5 top tier athletes.
Yeah,
you know?
They don't have very many. You know, it's a very select group there. And also I think something that I need to personally be better on is just that social media presence. Because I think these brands, even if maybe like you're not a world champion, but you're out there consistently and you're competing and doing well, you can use that to your advantage and be like, hey, I'm an up and coming guy. Like, here's some of my highlights, blah, blah, blah. I'd love to represent the brand, yada, yada. And that stuff is a lot easier and you get more attention if you have more followers.
Yeah.
You know, which is the unfortunate part about playing the kind of social media game where it's very much a numbers on a screen kind of thing. But, yeah, that's definitely something that like content creation and consistently posting is definitely something that I can improve on. Yeah.
Well, as somebody that, you know, I worked with War Tribe for a few years and like was pretty fortunate to like have the opportunity to do some athlete relation stuff and even like get some athletes sponsored. The number one thing that we always looked for was how active are on social media, and 2, do they already support our brand? And I'm talking about, I'm not talking about like Lovato Jr. or somebody, you know, I'm talking about like Joe Schmo that's a purple belt down the street.
Yeah.
You know, is he like reaching out to every single brand, or is he reaching out to us because he actually already likes the stuff and wears it? And, you know, that goes a lot further than people realize.
Right.
You know, I can't tell you how many times I had somebody message me, you know, I want a sponsorship, and, you know, they had the numbers and everything, and then I go to their page and they're like already sponsored by like Atama or something, you know, and they're just looking for something that's like better. I'm like, man, that person's going to be with us for, you know, whatever their contract is, 6 months. And then they're like in that 6 months, they're already looking for the next one.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. It's like somebody who's going to help kind of build your brand up.
Yeah.
And you got to like the products too, right? You can't just be like looking for a sponsorship, you get the gear, and then you're like, man, this gear sucks.
Yeah, there's a lot of them that do suck. You know, for me, I've always repped this Control brand, even when I was like sponsored by other people. I just like their products. You know, they make cool stuff. It's all like pre-order type things. You know, War Tribe is a great company, and I did wear their stuff when I was sponsored by them, and, you know, I still have stuff by them, and I just bought some shirts the other day from them. But overall, I wear Control. I just like their gear better. It's if I could tell anybody that's like looking for sponsorship, that's what I would say. Like, find a brand that you like, start wearing their stuff, and start tagging them in it.
Yeah, absolutely. And then obviously when you start doing well, that they're gonna be like, oh, well, this person's been like buying our gear and stuff and like promoting us and tagging us. So
yeah,
let's help him out a little bit. So
yeah, it's like a give and take, man. You gotta, that whole thing about you gotta spend money to make money. Well, if you want a sponsorship, sometimes the best thing to do is like buy some of their stuff and then start wearing it and just create free content. And you tag them in it, they're probably going to reshare it. And then, create that relationship first. Don't just, go to them like, hey, let me get some free stuff,
Right, yeah. I feel like that's what a lot of athletes do, especially in jiu-jitsu, going back to the psychos, Psychos, they want one thing, and it's whatever's going to benefit them.
Sure.
And that's it. I guess that also kind of goes in, like, some people are pretty narcissistic in the sport too, where it's me. It's never anybody else.
Yeah.
It's just not the way to go about it, man.
Well, I think we can end it on that note, man. I don't know how we topped that. We covered everything from fight to win to Pan Ams to narcissistic jiu-jitsu competitors and gym owners. So if you like what you're listening to, guys, make sure you like and subscribe on all platforms. You can find us at ADCC Trials this coming weekend. So this will probably be posted before trials. We'll post it hopefully on Wednesday. And, you guys see us out there, make sure you talk to us. We're going to take our equipment. We're going to record a couple podcasts out there as well. So we appreciate you guys. All right, so that was episode 8. Hope you guys enjoyed it. We covered a lot of stuff from our Fight to Win experience over the last week. We also talked about the Pan Am's gi tournament that's actually going on, wrapping up as we speak. I hope you guys really enjoyed it. And again, make sure that you guys like, subscribe, check us out on Instagram and on YouTube, on Spotify, all the places you can find a podcast. Thanks, guys. We appreciate it.
For today's Kings of Kimuras episode. Thanks for joining us on this epic journey. Remember to keep training, stay curious, and always be ready for the next adventure. Until next time, keep your guards up and your minds open.